everyone? Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Good evening, Rush Nation. We are back. We are sorry for the delay. Sorry for the hiatus. Kind of covered in the waiver wire show, but we are back. And yeah, a day later, life continues to get in the way over the last few days. But on the plus side, we got the Extreme back. I had too many jokes about Elon Musk's fun ground has put me and the channel in X jail, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I appealed it and we're out of X jail now. So we're good and we're back. Danny, how are you, my friend? How is life treating you at the moment?
Yeah, all good. Just busy week, bit tired, but yeah, all good. Looking forward to the weekend. I've took next week off, so I'm looking forward to having a week off work as well.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what those looks like, but it should be good. I am glad, my friend, that you get to enjoy some time off, and it's definitely well deserved. I know how hard you work, but we're coming into the midpoint of the fantasy season. When we get to Tuesday, we'll be halfway through the fantasy regular season. I've put in the title of this the most unpredictable week in fantasy history ? Because there's a ton of injuries, there's a ton of situational changes. We don't know who's playing running back for some teams. We don't know who's playing wide receiver for some teams. We don't even know who the head coach is going to be for a team this week. So all in all, it's a little crazy. We got the Jags and the Rams in London. We got everything's going on. It's unpredictable. It's going to be a mess. We're going to try and wade through it. What are your sort of initial thoughts as we look at week 7 now?
As you say, pretty much chaos. Like literally logging in for the call, I was seeing more news. It's literally changing by the minute. Like there's talk about Brock Bowers is actually training all of a sudden, which I just presumed he was gone for the week. So there's a chance he could even make Sunday. So you just every time I try to plan for something, I've got one of my most important teams is the Orkney Bowl, which I won a couple of years ago, and it's a tough one where it's 12 teams and half of them go straight into a relegation playoff. So and 4 of them go down. So like it's tough. And it started well with injuries, but now I've got that many injuries. I've literally had to pick about 4 players off the waiver wire just to throw them in for this week to pray that they'll do something. I lost both quarterbacks before it started, literally, and I've lost two of my main running backs. And now when you add the buys in on top of it, I think I've got 7 injuries and about 2 or 3 buys, and there's only 6 or 7 bench spots. And I'm having to gamble on so many different players. And I'm scheduled to lose the match by about 50 points.
Sleeper doesn't know what he's doing with projections, so don't worry about that.
I know, but like at the same time, like it's basically telling me my team is crap at the moment.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely some teams that you're going to have out there that are going to have run bad with injuries. I've got a couple. I think everyone who has multiple teams definitely have some teams that, you know, there is some definite sort of challenges as we're getting into the season and injuries happening. I don't think they're worse than ever. In fact, I was doing some analysis on data, and it doesn't look like there's many more significant injuries than before, but we're getting these sort of bitty injuries. You're getting these like players out 1 week, 2 weeks,
or teams not putting them on the IR when they'll be
no
out
one ever does anymore. I think it's a tactical thing, right?
Yeah,
because people's like, why don't you put a player on the IR? And you're like, you free up a roster spot because the player you're calling up, and this is no disrespect, right? And I don't mean this with any disrespect to anyone out there who's going to find a pop at me, which is fine. The person that you'd be calling up is basically not been good enough to sign for one of the 32 teams on one of the 53 spots. So you're talking about 1,000-ish players. And like, they're not in that number. So it's like, if I can get a player back within 3 weeks,
yeah,
and therefore they play only 1 week of that 4-week period, that's going to be better than what I get. And especially as well with the flexibility amongst calling people up to the practice squad, you can call them up 3 times before you have to sign them to the roster.
Yeah.
So
it's
kind
tricky
of
though.
don't need to put players on IR anymore.
But it's tricky though when I'm in leagues. Some of your listener leagues, there's only 5 substitutes on the bench, and I might have 3 of those players that could be out, should really be on IR, but they don't go on IR. So it's like, do I really want to drop them and I'll lose them to somebody else? And I'm basically stretched and I'm playing all the players that I've got fit, and that's it. Because when you throw the bye weeks in to go with them as well, it's like, likes of I'm trying to think of some of the players who this comes in. Like Brock Bowers is a good example. Like, he's been out, and it's like, I can't really throw Brock Bowers out, but I need someone to go in at the same time because I need to win matches now. I can't be waiting like 3 weeks to start winning matches.
So what you're telling me is you like to play FIFA on novice mode, right?
No, but it's like I don't play FIFA, but like, yeah, it's like I don't want to be giving other teams some of my best players just because they're out for a couple of weeks.
I mean, and I always think of this as like, I try and treat fantasy almost like the real NFL. If they're not on IR, they're in your roster, and if you got to make those tough decisions between holding them and not holding them. And I think there's situations where you would have to cut them if you are 2 and 4. Yeah. And they're going to be out for 3 weeks. Probably need to cut them.
It's funny you say that because one of the teams I'm 4 and 2, and I've had 4 of my 5 bench have been injured for the last 2 weeks. So I've been playing with 1 bench player, but I'm actually 4 and 2 somehow. So I'm praying that they get back soon.
And again, I think that's where I really like the challenge of. Someone queried it a few weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, why do out players not get an IR spot?" I was like, "Do they do that in the NFL?"
Yeah,
like it is part of the challenge. Like, do you like FIFA?
They might have more bench spots though than 5.
Yeah, but
it makes it. It definitely adds a lot more tactical to it.
It's tactical. I run the listener leagues to be a challenge. I don't do them to be like another league. They originally started because people didn't have leagues to play in, but they've become I don't want to like overbig it here, but they've become like, people who play in the leagues that I run understand that it's not going to be easy. So when you win it means something. Like it genuinely is like, that was a test. I've come through it. I've won a league with some good players. I've played some great fantasy players in a challenging format. And I think that's kind of what fantasy should be. It should be about striving to be great, not just I won a meaningless league against a bunch of randoms online, and I had, the pick of the draft, and I could just cherry pick off waiver wires left, right, and center, and it was a doddle. Like, you won't see people in the listener leagues go 14-0. It won't happen. In all the years I've done listener leagues, I think the closest, I went 13-1 in a standard league. And to be honest, I just drafted like a god. It was one of those fluke occurrences. It doesn't happen in the listener leagues. Like,
you need a bit of luck as well.
A bit of luck. But
I was saying about that Orkney Bowl team, for example, there's 6 or 7 of them injured. But on the flip side to that, not that I'm going to win the whole thing, but on the flip side, I think I'm 29th in Warrior Ball, and I haven't got a single injury. And people keep getting injured who are making my players stronger. So say for Njoku's out tomorrow, I've got Fannin. I am sitting there who I picked up very early on. Like, so all of a sudden his value goes up because Njoku's out. So it's actually been working the opposite for that team. So it's you can only plan so much, and some of it is just complete luck to go with it as well. I've had no injuries yet. Now half my team's getting injured this week, but I've had no injuries.
But I think that's part of the challenge of fantasy football, and it's sculpting a team that's going to be durable as much as possible. And it's not always possible. Like, my Warrior Bowl team's trash, and it's done and it's fine. But I think at the end of the day, you've just got to keep plugging away, and there are pathways to victory, and trades become important in the leagues where you can trade. And I think, again, we're looking at an unpredictable week coming ahead. There are so many situations that are unpredictable as we're getting into it now.
I like them like that.
And so do I, because I think that the difference is those that do the work will tend to be on the right side of things more often than not. Not always. You're going to get luck box situations, and that's okay. And like that is part and parcel of the game. But I'd like to think when the going gets tough, this separates the good managers from the lucky ones. And I think that a lot of the preparation that we do on this show and to the people in our community and to the people that we liaise and talk about strategy with in the Patreon chats and all those bits and pieces, we gear up for weeks like this. That this is the weeks that we know we're going to separate from the crowd. That we've been working towards a week like this for 6 weeks. We've been looking at who has got the matchups. We're looking at who has got who is you going to usurp, and we're looking at situations and saying who is going to come out of the chaos. And it kicked off with Thursday Night Football. You know, I said on the Patreon cast that, you know, we saw Joe Flacco in Cincy, you know, week 6. The first half was atrocious. The second half was actually pretty good. And I just got this look that I just think Joe Flacco, I'm not going to sit here and project that I thought he was going to be as good as he was. I put him 24th in my rankings. Like, I didn't sit here and expect him to be great, but I probably outranked him over most people, even at 24, because I just felt that there is something going to happen with him. And I felt there was a big boom with Chase Brown. They talked about his schedule and that he'd actually, a lot of the run that he had was against really good teams in the league, with the worst quarterback play in the league. And that was all going to change because Joe Flacco was going to move that offense at least a little bit. And he was going to play teams that were going to give up points against the run. And I felt that I'm not sitting here and saying Chase Brown's a league winner now. Like, I'm not there, but he was going to be better than he was. And if you held the asset, you've done all right, because he's now going to be in a position the next few weeks he's going to do okay. And I think this is the point of all these unpredictable situations. You're going to have to make some judgment calls. You know, one of the big ones is Rico Dowdle versus Chuba Hubbard. You're going to have to make a judgment call. We can pick through and we can look at where we are with that. You know, there are so many situations. What are you doing with players that are 75, 80%? We're going to have to make a call on Deebo Samuel this week. We're going to have to make a call on Mike Evans this week. We're going to have to make a call on a lot of players that either aren't fit or are fit, but maybe not 100%.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to make a call on, you know, Vidal versus Haskins. We're going to have to make a call on Dowdle versus Hubbard. We're going to have to make a call on the Pittsburgh Steelers tight end situation moving forward. Is it Freiermuth? Is it Smith? Is it a mixture of the two? Does Fanning get a significant arrow up? What are we doing with Mark Andrews and what's going on in Baltimore? You know, there's all of these situations here in the league that are a little bit weird. And to sum it all up, we've got the Indianapolis Colts and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the 2-1 seeds. Like, this sums up everything about football. That the Bills lost on Monday, that the Washington Commanders lost to Chicago. The fact that last night Aaron Rodgers and you know, the Steelers, who have been cooking, lost to the Bengals, who couldn't beat anybody. Like, this situation's weird. This season is weird. And when it's like that, the work and the preparation will pay off. We're going to cover a lot of that tonight. And personally, I like it like this. This is why I like the NFL. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
The only hard part is having the time to do the work sometimes. But what I like about it as well is it's not necessarily just the calls on those players you're saying. It's more around what can you do before you have to make the call. So it'd be like, what players can I pick up, throw on my bench while I wait for more news? And then all of a sudden, if I find out last minute Deebo's out, I've already got that replacement on the bench ready to throw in. So it's like, who are the best players out there that I can get now? Get them in while I'm still waiting to make those decisions. And it gives you a bit more time to make them then, knowing you've got some cover on the bench.
Yeah, and I'm going to shout this out. And I do this a lot, and people kind of don't take notice of it because you got to commit some funds. But the bottom line is that I put a Patreon cast together. I'd say every week. I didn't last week, but most weeks I tend to put a Patreon cast together. And look, I don't get everything right in it, but I'd like to think that in that show, it's an hour and 20 minutes of a data dump where we look at situations and we analyze what's going on, what is the likely trend of something happening, and who are we fading, who are we buying low. And I give names of players who I think could do something over the next few weeks in the short to mid-term. We look at fantasy playoffs, we look at Shanks, we do so many different things, touches, injury concerns, like going forward with the heavy workload. There's so many things that we do. And listen, some of those things don't ever pan out. But then there's some, and it's interesting that over the years, and you've been a member for the last few years, that I'll call an injury before it happens. It's like, I'm severely concerned with this running back's workload.
Yeah,
that they're going to hit the red zone, and then all of a sudden they're going to get an injury, and then they do.
Well, a good example
goes down, and it
happens
every year.
A good example at the moment, because you might not have, what that was discussed on is around Bucky Irvin, about you obviously being a Bucks fan as well. You sort of knew that, okay, there's something going on here. He might not go on IR, but he's going to be out for as long as somebody that was on IR. The amount of people who would listen to that Patreon cast that would have tons of Sean Tucker stashed away just in case that happened, and obviously Rashad White as well. And the more it's looking exactly that was the case. And all these people now are scrambling to try to get those type of players when most of the people listen to the Patreon cast already have them. The only ones that don't have them are the ones that are in leagues with other people who are also listening to the Patreon cast as well. Yeah. But generally,
again, I don't get everything right. I'm not going to say it and toot the horn, right? But
but you're planning for it in case it happens.
Planning for it. And that's the key. It's the plan. And the plan's either going to work or it's not going to go, and it's not going to work. But you had a plan.
But also, you can flip them in Dynasty as well. Like Tucker there, he wasn't in a lot of, throw him on the bench, and if he goes mad for a game or two, then you can sell him for a third or something and store your third. It's like, you can use it for different formats, but also it's very handy for anyone who's playing. I know Jack does the DFS stuff, but a lot of this information is very good for that as well. Like for when you're talking about your 1 week punts and stuff, we know, like we'll talk about it later, probably with Puka being out, but he's out. This guy off the waivers, perfect for this 1 week, but you can also plug him into your DFS on the cheap. That'll give you more money to bring in the big hitters to go with them as well. So it's all the different formats. Or even though you're talking about redraft, you can use that information for everything. Like season long on Fan Team, you're talking about strength to schedule on there. So that's in Fan Team, you get so many transfers per week. So you sort of you save them all, and then all of a sudden you might use 3 or 4 at the same time, and you're looking at who's got good games for the next 4 to 5 weeks, and that's covered in that show.
And I think that's key. It is fit for all that. And so we launched this week new memberships on YouTube. If you sign up for the memberships on YouTube, you get access to the Patreon that way. It's another way of doing it. Or you can sign up, the link below. Not on the live stream, but on the review. If you're watching this after the fact, you can get access to the Patreon. So it's patreon.com/5yard rush. We're doing it so in October we get a week free, so you get access to it anyway. So try it before you buy it. Effectively, it's still even like £3-4 a month. It's not ridiculous. It's just enough to keep the lights on for everything in the channel and do bits and pieces. So ultimately it's not a lot, but I like to think you get your money back one way or the other. There's loads of stuff that you can claim and get through it as well. So, but I want to go through and I want to just take sort of 3 minutes here, capturing some of the big things in week 6, which I think is going to throw some light on the stuff that we're going to need to think about this week. So I've got a load of stuff here I just put in my notes. I haven't shared with you, Danny. Apologies. These are I do recap notes through the week, and I sort of jot stuff down. So I'm going to just sort of rattle through about 10 players, I think are going to be really important to talk about. The first is Kimani Vidal. He obviously had a big week last week. We were umming and ahhing what was the situation going to happen in the Chargers room. Is it going to be Vidal? Is it going to be Haskins? And I went, well, I think it'll be Haskins because of the volume. And They didn't sign Vidal to a contract. And look, we got it wrong. But I did say Vidal has the flash. Haskins is a volume play. The one thing I'm going to caveat people on Vidal, people are going to throw Vidal in lineups this week. And I talked about this on the Patreon cast. He's not playing Miami this week. Okay. Miami have the second worst run defense to fantasy running backs in the NFL. So he's not playing Miami this week. He has got better matchups ahead before Hampton comes back. I am skeptical to start him in situations where I have better options. I am a little bit cautious that I think they'll run a hot hand. I think he will probably be the lead back, but I don't want to sit here and rule out Haskins completely. And I think they've got a tougher matchup this week. So I'm going to pour a little cold water here on Vidal, and I don't think he's going to go for 138 yards again this week. So just be a bit careful of him, because there's a stat in here, and I talk about rushing yards over expected a lot. He was 58 yards rushing yards over expected last week. So he was playing a bad team, who are the second worst team in the NFL for running backs. That's not going to happen again. So if he achieves the rushing yards as expected, and you take 6 points off his fantasy total, it's still not a bad day, but it's not the day that he has. Yeah. And I think that's the...
But there's also what's name now, isn't it? There's loads of talk about them looking for another running back as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen with Hampton there. I mean,
his injury could be worse. His injury could be worse than them making out, though, as well, if they are talking to other people.
But are they talking to other people, or is this just... We're going to go off topic then. So, my issue with the NFL trade deadline is this. It's waffle every year.
Yeah, I know.
It's absolute waffle. It is the equivalent of Sky Sports News peddling deadline day, right? You have to look that these media companies are finding a point snapshot in time, and what they're trying to do is they are trying to generate content with hypothetical trades.
Yeah.
That someone then picks up and thinks that that's real chatter.
He's probably going to get traded. They're going to do a trade as we're having this channel, I reckon, in the next hour. It's going to pop up.
Chance. And look, here's what's funny, right? I had, and I'm not kidding you, 7 people in the Bucks community reach out to me and ask about the possibility of Max Crosby going to the Buccaneers. And I'm like, no.
No, he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he?
Exactly that. He's just signed a new contract. It's like, but someone floated it as a hypothetical trade on ESPN, and all of a sudden, it's real. And this is the magic of when you have a broadcasting network covering a point in time like a trade deadline, like a transfer deadline day. It is in their interest to manufacture content, and so. You know, we're getting all this chat about, this player could move and that player could move, and teams are inquiring about him. How many significant trades have we had at the NFL deadline?
Not many.
Like, I saw a waffle one that the Seahawks are going to be interested in Devon Achane.
Yeah.
What? They got Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet.
I know.
You really think they're going to sign Devon? I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Devon Achane's a great player, but why would Miami trade him? He's on a rookie contract, so it's not like he's got a big contract that they're trying to get rid of. In what world are they for like Reek Woolen and some picks? Like,
it's
just nonsense. It's rubbish. It's complete dribble. It doesn't happen. These trades don't happen.
Yeah, no, I know. There will be some though, but it won't be to that. It won't be to that level.
But Marquez Valdes-Scantling will get traded, and I don't care. Yeah. It's never about relevant players. Relevant players don't get traded at the deadline. What was it last year? Brandon Ayuk's going to get traded. Everyone was like, Brandon Ayuk's going to get traded. No, he's not.
Yeah, they probably should have traded him though.
well, with the injury, but they signed him. Like, it's just these big trades don't happen mid-season. I'm sure there's been one. I'm sure someone can come out here and tell me there's been a big significant trade. Don't tell me Joe Flacco's a big significant trade. I'm not buying that, by the way. But there ain't many. All this talk, this person's going to move and this person's going to... very rarely ever happens. And I just think that if you're banking on these trades happening and that's what you're trading for in the hope that these trades happen, then don't, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm sorry, but you are. And if that happens, that happens. But yeah, I don't see it.
Now, what's the date for that? It's the first week in November, isn't it?
Yeah, it's normally like last week of October, first week of November. I better check.
Yeah, because I think the Giants will get somebody in this. They need somebody in now.
Right. So, November 4th. Here we go. I'm going to use this as a reference point. So, The Athletic have just launched an article literally a couple of hours ago. 18 names to watch before the trade deadline.
Let me have a guess. Olave, Jacoby Myers.
Sorry, 10 players to move. 10 players to watch.
Yeah.
Right. And they said 18 trades took place last season with 8 coming on deadline day. So, I'm going to look at who those 8.
Yeah, they're not going to be hardly anyone of note, that's for sure.
Right. Mark Andrews, franchise leader in touchdowns, by the way. Can't see it.
Yeah, he's out of contract at the end of the year, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the final year of his contract. I still don't see it.
No, because they'd have to
hang up for him, and I don't think that. I don't see it. Bradley Chubb. That's one that could happen just because that he is on a big contract.
Yeah,
and the Dolphins are pony. So
they're going nowhere this season. So
if we're talking about trades, like that's one of the more likely ones. I can kind of see a case for that. I don't know why anyone is going to pay something for a player who is in their first season coming off an ACL. Like, are you going to get the value for Bradley? Like, if you're going to trade him for a 5th, yeah, you'll probably get someone that will do that. A contender might come in and do that. But if you want like a 1st or a 2nd, I don't see it.
No.
Demario Davis. Demario Davis getting traded. He's 36.
Have you seen the ones that the Giants were linked to this week? So they started with Chris Olave, then they were talking about Jacoby Myers, and that the latest one that I've heard, which obviously is absolute nonsense, is Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
You don't do those type of deals this late in the window.
Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. This, by the way, by The Athletic, is some of it's all right, but some of it is waffle. Demario Davis is 36. No one is paying a significant piece. They're saying, the 49ers might go for him because they've lost Fred Warner. I'm like,
no.
I don't think they're going for Demario Davis. I just don't. I don't see it. Trey Hendrickson is one that I think could happen. But then I think he was available all offseason and no one went for it. Do you really think someone's going to rush and do a deal now?
No, definitely
I'm not sure. DeAndre Hopkins, do we care if he gets traded? He's washed.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, where's he going to turn up? I think, and by the way, who are the names that they're talking about going to trade for him? Take a guess.
Hopefully not the Giants.
Chiefs are going to trade for him.
The Chiefs get linked with everybody, don't they?
Everybody. Every year.
And now Rice back as well. I'm weird. He's playing well.
Never happening. David Njoku.
Well, that's because Fannon's playing well, isn't it?
And this is the teams that they have linked David Njoku to. Are you ready for this?
Tampa.
Indianapolis Colts, who've just drafted Tyler Warren.
Yeah, one of the best tight ends they've already got, yeah.
So that ain't happening.
No, definitely not.
The Los Angeles Chargers, who haven't invested in a tight end since Antonio Gates. And when I mean invested, like significantly, they don't throw targets, they don't do much at the position, and they just drafted Gadsden. So I don't really think that's going to happen.
And he's looking very good as well.
Sure. So I mean that's happening. And the Bucks, who have like 6 tight ends on their roster.
Yeah.
And they quite like Cade Otton, and he's fine. And they're not really using him anyway. So I don't think they're going to all of a sudden.
As well.
Yeah, silly. Jalen Phillips, again, who are they linking with him? The Eagles, the Lions, the Bucks, the Chiefs. Don't see that happening. Wyatt Teller. I mean, we're talking about guards now. Do we care? No. Thibodeau. Do we really think Thibodeau's getting traded from the New York Giants? No.
Those
are stupid. Rink Woolen I could see, but not for Devon Achane. Like, this is what we're talking about. And then I'm going to look up now the NFL trade deadline 2024 trades. So who went on the deadline last year?
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm trying to think.
This is what I mean. I'm sure there was one player who was all right. Okay, here we go. The Jets signed Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
that was one, but that was the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. There was a couple actually. Marshawn Lattimore went to the Commanders. Steelers got Mike Williams. Didn't really do anything. Lions added to Darius Smith. No. Cowboys dealt for Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Jaguars got Roy Robertson Harris, the defensive tackle. The Seahawks did. So Roy Robertson Harris, Devontae Adams. Okay, Devontae Adams is a big one. Like, fair enough. Like, I'll cop it. Devontae Adams was a big one. It was kind of known beforehand, but whatever. Okay, I'll give Devontae Adams. That's a big one. Fine. Mike Williams, Zadarius Smith, Jonathan Mingo, Marshawn Lattimore. Like, Khalil Davis, Darius White. Like, they're all going for 7th round picks, by the way.
Yeah, there's not
much. There's nothing in here that is like Ernst Jones went around the trade deadline, not on the trade deadline. That's quite a good player for a defensive player, to be fair. Cam Akers was the other one. That's my point. If you take Devontae Adams because he wanted to go and play with Aaron Rodgers again out of this scenario,
the
rest of it kind of doesn't make any difference. So, anyway, rant over. Don't buy the trade hype. It's manufactured content. It is every year. So just swim it. I'll get back to this list of players because there's some interesting points I want to put in here. I said this on the Patreon cast. If you're looking for a big, like a waiver wire ad, Luther Burden is a guy I'm watching like a hawk. Last week, he ran 39% of routes, which is his highest. Zacchaeus also dropped the ball late, which is quite important. And Burden went 4 targets, 4 catches for 51. And I did say after the bye, we would see an uptick in usage, and that's what we're doing. So it's hard to like really hugely buy in as like, oh, I'm throwing him in the starting lineup. But if I'm looking at a player for a bye week or just trending upwards,
yeah,
Luther Burden is one of those. Bill Krosky Merritt, 66% of stats, which was his highest, 37% routes, and 18 touches were all his season high. He is starting to become the bell cow in Washington, which is great.
And he has a great end of season run of games as well, doesn't he?
It really does. And then we talked about it on the Patreon cast, a big run of games late. So that's a big one. We're seeing some uptick in Travis Hunter, 86% of routes, 79% of snaps. I'm still not there on him, but there's one to keep an eye on. If you're looking for a buy low tight end, I just sort of besmirched him a little bit, but Cade Otton. Cade Otton last week had 88% routes and 6 targets. And with this sort of flux at the wide receiver position, I think you're going to see, if you're needing a desperation play this week, he'll be available in 96% of leagues, I think. And if you need a player like Cade Otton's probably a good one to target this week. They might have Mike Evans back. There's no Ibuka. I don't think Godwin is 100%. So I think you could see a little bit of Cade Otton this week.
I might pick him up in the one we were talking about before.
And then DeAndre Swift was interesting, and I talked about him on the Patreon cast that I thought Carmen Angai coming out of the bye would be a thing. And actually, he got an opportunity, and he looked crap. Like, he didn't look good. And Swift then has all of a sudden gone, oh, okay, well now I'm under a bit of threat. I better kick on, and he did, and he was phenomenal. So, DeAndre Swift is going to be great there, and he's got a great run of games coming up. So one I'm definitely sort of sticking on to. We talked about that 1 week play that you mentioned. It's Jordan Whittington. So I mentioned him on the waiver wire show. He ran with Puka Nacua out 79% of routes. So I expect him to have a pretty decent week if you're playing DFS this week. I think he's priced. I don't know. I don't play DFS. I imagine he's priced pretty cheaply. Yeah, I've been buying in a lot of him in lineups this week in fan team and DFS contests.
He's in all the teams where I'm struggling to win and I needed to find something. I got a lot of them. Right?
Yeah,
that's like last week.
He's a 1 week play.
Yeah.
Don't invest too much, but I think this week it's kind of that perfect storm that it's all going to tie up quite nicely for him.
Well, what do you think about in this for the like last week? I was looking at Gadsden, and he had 8 targets and he got 7 receptions from that, and he we on 68 yards, and he was in a standard league. He was like 18 points or something like that, but and he would have been on most waiver wires.
The tricky thing, I called him a few weeks ago because we started seeing this uptick in usage. The problem is there is no NFL team that is going to support 4 fantasy.
That's why I couldn't understand how we got so many targets, though, because of how many other people he can to.
There was no Quentin Johnston last week, so that's why.
But they've still got Allen. They've still got what's his name, Lab McConkey, and then
exactly. That team will support 3.
Yeah.
So that team, with the amount that they pass, will support 3 pass catches. They're not going to support 4.
Yeah.
So Gadsden's a great play when one of those 3 doesn't play. And it's like, and this is also if you're sitting here waiting for the Trey Harris breakout this season, it's not going to happen this season. I'm not saying like wash your hands of him in Dynasty or anything like that, but he's not going to be a thing this year. So Gadsden's like a nice hold on a bench, but you can only throw him in if there's no Johnston or there's no McConkey or there's no Allen. If one of those 3 gets injured, Gadsden's an immediate like must-start play.
Yeah.
But he, unfortunately, is just going to be a bit of a difficult person to trust early out of the gate. There was one other player I was going to talk about. Where was it? Yeah. Speaking of our favorite player, Chris Olave. Did you see Chris Olave's efficiency scores? So he had 10 targets, 123 air yards. He had a 0.93 weighted opportunity rating, and then he had so many matrix, like without really touching the box score, that looked phenomenal. And so, like, his expected fantasy points versus his actuals ridiculous. Like, if there's a quarterback change in New Orleans, he gets one of the biggest bumps, like, immediately that you will ever see. And so I keep trying to acquire him, and people are kind of seeing through the tea leaves and not letting me get there on him. But he is a player that I continue to see dominate every efficiency metric, but it's not hitting the box score. And I think it's going to happen very, very, very soon.
Because I was looking at when you say that, I was looking at some of the stats on Jerry Jeudy for last week, and his stats are a bit mad as well. Like, he had 13 targets, but he only got 5 receptions from those 13 targets, and his expected points were quite high, I think, for last week as well. But obviously, I don't know if that was down to his play or the lack of quality being thrown to him. But he was targeted 13 times, but he just couldn't. And he only got from 13 targets, he only got 43 yards.
Yeah. So The problem with that, and I called this out, I think Tuesday, I shared some of the chat, the next gen stats charts from in the Patreon chat. And if you look at Dylan Gabriel's pass chart, I think only 4 passes went over 10 yards.
Yeah.
And so what's worse about that stat line with Jerry Jeudy is he got targeted 13 targets. You think, oh, that's really unlucky.
But he must be really close to him as well.
And he's still not hitting him. Like,
Yeah.
At this point, I'm like, Dylan Gabriel is just not great. Like, I'm sorry. He just can't be that good. I'll pull up. If you give me 30 seconds, I will pull up the targets per route run, and like there's some shocking stuff in here. Like,
but have you seen what Jerry Jeudy, according to whether I've made a mistake here, but like if you're looking at Jerry Judy's expected fantasy points last week, that's showing up as 30 points.
Yeah. But that'll be a lot of it will be down to the targets that have been thrown.
That's why you can only take expected. You've got to take that with a ton of other information. You can't just take it as on its own, like because it's.
Sure. But so Jerry Jeudy ran routes 90% of dropbacks, which is high. His A dot wasn't that bad. It was 10.3. But even so, his targets per route run was only 25%, which only it's good, but it's not outstanding for a player who got 13 targets. And his weighted targets per route run was 63%, and his weighted opportunity rating is only 66%. Then none of these stats really kind of blow the doors off and look incredible.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of that yields to he got thrown the ball in situations that were desperate. So he got almost all the passes that Dylan Gabriel threw over 10 yards that he didn't complete. And he didn't throw that many over 10 yards. So Dylan Gabriel's just not good. I think I called it out in the chat. Let's just get done with it. And let's just bring Shedeur Sanders in. That's the direction of travel. You're going to wait till the bye, and then you're going to bring Shedeur in. Why wait till the bye? I have seen absolutely everything I need to see out of Dylan Gabriel to know he's not going to make it in this league. And that's harsh. And people are going to say, how can you judge him on 2 games of football? Because sometimes that's all you need. This kid listen, he needs to sit for 2 years and he needs to develop. If he has any chance of success in this league, he needs to go with proficient coaches and really work on his craft. Because he is just not, and I'm not even going to throw the height argument out here that he's 5'11".
So
just simply, he's just
why are they playing him?
What?
Why are they playing him?
I think they don't want the media circus of the Shedeur Sanders show.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, look, were they right to move on from Joe Flacco? Yes. Joe Flacco wasn't delivering at a high level. People going oh, how can they trade him now? Look what he's doing with the Bengals. I made this point in a different chat today that it is a little weird that Joe Flacco, when he's not given any time to think about anything, is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
We saw this when he came to the Browns the first time and he ripped it for 350 yards every week and won comeback player of the year. Then he got a starting job in Indianapolis, bombed. He got the starting job. Then he came at the Jets, had a little backup spell, did okay. Then went to Cleveland, bombed. And then now he's at Cincinnati. He looks good again because he's not having time to think. He's running on instinct. And actually, maybe he's a guy who just overthinks things. I don't know.
That feels like Daniel Jones a little bit as well.
A little bit. But Daniel Jones, I'm one of the few that always felt there was a quarterback in Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I genuinely always felt that there was a quarterback in Daniel Jones. And I talked about this. I can't remember who I've been on a podcast and I talked about this, that Brian DeBall changes his offensive scheme every single year because he's a little confused by what he wants to do. And every year they seem to draft a type of player and then they abandon that and draft a completely different type of player that fits into a completely different scheme. And so they fitted the scheme around Daniel Jones in the year they made the playoffs and that worked. And then they decided to go away from that. do something completely different that doesn't fit Daniel Jones, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he can't play in that scheme. Because I'm not saying Daniel Jones is elite at all, like far from that. Daniel Jones is very good at a very particular type of style of football.
Yeah. So play that style of football.
He's been let down by coaching. He's been let down by coaching. And what Shane Steichen has done is he's set up a scheme to play to his quarterback strength.
Which is just common sense. Like,
you would think it would be common sense, but it's not.
It's a bit like what's his name, Almiron at Man United. He's trying to play a system because that's the system he likes, but none of the players can actually play that system.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're kind of seeing here. Is at some point you have to understand and accept the fact that you've got players who are limited in what they can do, and you have to kind of just go with that. And I think that with Dylan Gabriel, the longer that you persist with Dylan Gabriel, the more you're just sort of waving the white flag. And I get it. The sooner you start Shedeur Sanders, the circus comes into town. And I'm not like talking about the Dion show. I'm just talking about there's so much clamor because he was a 5th round pick that was projected to go first overall. That you're going to get all of this stuff that is going to happen in the media, that all of a sudden you get this media attention that a 1-win NFL team doesn't deserve. And Cleveland have been the butt of the joke a few times. But, and also, I don't think Kevin Stefanski wants Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he wanted him. I don't think he was part of that decision. I don't think he was happy that he was drafted. But the way that the situation has played out here, you've got 2 quarterbacks on your roster. I don't think either of them are suited for the NFL. But Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. Like I don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about that. Like I know that to be true. Without necessarily, I think Shedeur Sanders is very limited to what he will do in the NFL, and I don't think he's a starting caliber quarterback. But I think that at least with Shedeur Sanders, he will bring a certain level of a combination of accountability and predictability in a good way. Like
it also feels like
a high percentage of his throws. He'll complete a high percentage of his throws. That offense will be moving. It won't be pretty. Yeah. It's not going to have loads of chunk plays. It's not going to be putting up 30, 40 points a game. But they'll put up 20, 25 points and they'll lose games and they'll win games. But it will be functionally boring. It will be boring to watch, but it will be functional. What we're watching now, like I watched it in Gabriel in London, and I was like, I don't need to see this again. Like and again, it's his first start, and I'm ripping him, and it's hard, and I totally get that. But he just hasn't got it. He hasn't got that ability to make throws under pressure.
Yeah,
and he's not going to get the time.
Well, that's the only thing I wonder about what's his name, Shedeur, is the fact that because he has such a circus around him, he's actually quite able to handle that side of the pressure. Yeah. So, like, he might not have the skills that some of the other guys have got, but he might handle the pressure better than some of those other guys.
I 100% agree with that. He's been around the show, like he knows what the NFL's about. Yeah. He grew up in the NFL. Like, I just think that Shedeur Sanders is a player who will come in. And listen, the best compliment I can give Shedeur Sanders is he's competent.
Yeah.
He will come in and he'll bring a level of competency to that offense. They'll move down the field. It will be boring to watch. Like, I kid you not, it will be boring. No one will be
boring anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
That's it, but they'll be competitive. They will win football games. That team, with that roster and that coaching staff, is too good to be at the record they're at.
But do they want? The other question is, do they actually want to win games this season? That's the other thing. They might want better picks.
Well, they've got 2 first-round picks next year. So, and also, I'm not being funny.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about 2026 being like the year of the great quarterback class. I don't think it is.
I was listening to one today that they were talking about Rattler, and they were saying the way even though he's going under the radar a little bit, the fact that he could actually be better than any of those quarterbacks that are coming through next year.
Oh, I'm not going. I don't think Rattler's much better than most.
But he doesn't have to be great to be better than them. He just could be better than them. Like, there might not be any great ones coming through next year.
I mean, the fact is, if you would ask people in July,
Yeah, I know what you're going to say now.
everyone was saying Arch Manning, Drew Aller, and Lenore Sellers, right? They were the three that we were talking about as players who are going to lift the ceiling of play in the NFL at the quarterback position. Drew Aller's done. He's injured. He can't go back to college because he's finished his years of eligibility. So if he gets drafted in the NFL, he's not getting drafted high anymore because of his ACL and plus injuries. So he's going to come into the NFL injured, and we've seen this story before. You come into the NFL injured, you tend never to make it, especially at the quarterback position. So I hate to write off a player who isn't even entered the draft process yet, but Drew Allen's almost done in the NFL before it's even started because of this injury. Lenore Sellers hasn't been great. He was a Heisman favorite. Arch Manning, he would be stupid to come out this year because he's looked bang average. So you've got, we're looking at, Dante Moore out of Oregon. You're looking at Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. These are the players now. And Sellers is still going to be up there. I just don't rate them. I think they're okay. But we haven't got the Justin Herberts, the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens. We haven't got that level of player. And again, we don't know. I'm not sitting here I'm speaking with a bit of hyperbole here, but I don't feel like we're going to be enriched with this superb quarterback talent class that everyone kind of was touting was going to be the thing next year. And I just think, I don't know. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be okay. We're not talking about a Kenny Pickett draft that he's head and shoulders above and he's not starting in the NFL. I think we're looking at, there's some starters, but I don't think there's any stars. And I think if you need a quarterback this year, it's going to struggle.
It feels like 2 of the last 3 years have been pretty bad. There was one exceptional group, but there's been there was been 2 groups of just there was nothing much last year. Then there was great ones the year before, and then before that there was 2 and one of them, Stroud, had one good season but hasn't really done it since. So this could be 3 out of 4 years where it's not been a really good group coming through.
Yeah, and then you're sitting there and you think, I mean, there's different reasons for some of that, but but some of that's coaching.
Yeah,
I actually think Bryce Young's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's helped with coaching. I think CJ Stroud is an exceptional quarterback who's being held back by coaching. So it's a bit difficult to say, but the one thing I would say, and again, this is all tying back to this week with this unpredictability, is that we don't in theory really know. But the one thing we do know is that if you're sitting here planning, if you're not planning at all, like some NFL teams don't, you're going to be in trouble. And so this week is a real pivotal week in, I think, the NFL, in fantasy football, across the landscape. I think we're really going to see a big shift in tactics. I think we're going to see a big shift in coaching. I think, I said on Tuesday that Brian Callahan has got to go before Thanksgiving, and then he went 7 hours later. And I think Mike McDaniel is 1-2 games away from going. Two has thrown him under the bus. I think when that happens, that's kind of the beginning of the end. So I think we're going to start seeing coaches go in the NFL. I think you're going to see, I think Zach Taylor would have been under some pressure, but I think now with them winning against the Steelers.
Yeah. I think Dable throwing Dart in has given him a bit more time as well.
Well, yeah, and I think so. I think there's definitely some teams in the NFL now where you think, they're just about hanging on here. The ball's a good one. I don't know what happens for him end of the season. I don't think he's going to do enough, but I think he'll get a crack until the end of the season for sure.
But because he's threw in the young quarterback, that's sort of given him a little bit more time to see. Whereas if it was still Russell Wilson, he'd probably be gone in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I feel like that was a desperation play to keep his job, and it's kind of working for now. But
that's why I'm wondering whether they might try to give him some help as well, just as one way to keep his job, as like some sort of receiver to throw to.
I don't think so, and I just think if you're the New York Giants, you've done this before.
Yeah.
What are you like?
Well, they don't. The problem is as well, they don't have a third round pick as far as I'm aware. So it's like you've got a first, a second, and then it's down to your fourth. So you either, if you want someone good, you're going to have to pay up. You can't even offer a third. So you're either going to overpay, or you're going to the quality from a fourth and downwards is not going to be good enough anyway. So you might as well stick with what you've got.
Yeah, but then also you say that, and then I sit there and think, but why would you?
Yeah,
like
you don't.
Why would you trade for a wide receiver
when you get Neighbors back next year?
Well, not even that. Just the fact that you're not going to win this year.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, what I'm not talking about.
End up in the wild card.
I suppose I'm not talking logically here, though. I'm talking about what he might do to try to save his job, is by trying to get someone in to get a few more wins on the board to be able to say, look, we're showing improvements. Whereas if they just start losing most of these games now, we know he's gone for sure then.
But and again, I mean this with kind of no disrespect to the Giants.
Yeah, they're not good enough.
Not only are they not good enough, there's some good wide receivers that haven't got a team.
Yeah.
Like if I was in charge, if I was Joe Sherman right now, and I was like, right, I'm playing for my job, I'm not going to be allowed to trade any picks. Ownership are not going to let me trade picks, so I'm going to have to bring some people in the room. I'm going to have to bring some people in who are good honest pros who are going to help out my young quarterback. Right? Robert Woods is a free agent. Sign Robert Woods. Tyler Boyd, he's a free agent. You could sign Odell. Odell hasn't got a team. I know there's a circus with all of that, but like, he hasn't got a team. You can sign Odell Beckham Jr. back. Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup's out there. You could sign Michael Gallup. He's a good receiver, and he's still quite young, and he's not had that many injuries. DJ Chark, he's a pretty good receiver. Like, there's some good receivers out there. I mean, you could have Kadarius Toney back, who you drafted in the first round.
I know what a mess that was.
Like, there's enough good receivers out there who haven't got a team. Like, you don't need to go and trade for. Like, I look at players knocking around the NFL who haven't got contracts, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, you could make. Here we go. Here's an exercise. If I had to make a team now, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to name my NFL offense based on free agents who haven't got a team right now because I've got it in front of me, right? I'm starting Taylor Heineke at quarterback.
Yeah, okay. This sounds great already. Yeah.
Listen, quarterback's crap, okay? It was him or Kyle Trask. Running back, I've got Gus Edwards and Zach Moss. Or Jamal Williams. Like, I've got a decent little back room there, I think. Like, there's a bit of juice. You know, I could have gone with Zeke if I wanted to, but I'm not because I think he's juiced out. But wide receivers, I could have OBJ, Robert Woods, and Michael Gallup. Like, I think that's a good wide receiver room.
And who are you having a tight end?
Hayden Hurst. I know he's old, but like it was him, or you could have gone like Jordan Akins or CJ Azuma, but I'll go Hayden Hurst for the old school. Like, and then I looked at offensive tackles, and I couldn't believe one of the offensive tackles here. Right, one of the offensive tackles was a first-round pick in 2020. And he was one of my favorites, Jedrick Wills. Jedrick Wills, who was a first-round pick in 2020. He got picked before Tristan Wirfs, who's an all-pro tackle. And he was taken 10 overall by the Browns. He's out there. You can have him and Lyle Collins as your tackles, which is incredible. Shaq Mason, who I think is great. You can have him in the interior. The other interior positions a little bit, yeah. I mean, you could take Eichenberg, I suppose. And then you'd need a center. Well, you'd need another guard. So the other guard, I mean, like, I'm going to admit, the other guards are a little weak here. You're probably going to have to take Glowinski or Whitehair. But then I can have Shaq Barrett on the edge. Yannick Ngakoue still out there. I can have Christian Wilkins and Linval Joseph. Bit old, but like that will do in the middle. Linebackers, I can have Josie Jewell is still out there. If he's healthy, I don't know understand how he's not on a team. But I'd have Josie Jewell and Javondre Campbell would be my linebackers.
You've thought about this too much already, haven't you?
And then my cornerbacks would be Asante Samuel Jr., Stephon Gilmore, and I would this is a tricky one, this third corner spot. You could go Mosley or you could go Troy Hill. That would be decent. And then safeties, I could have Justin Simmons if he's healthy and Jordan Whitehead. Thanks for coming. That's a great defense. I'm well happy with that. Like, that team's competing in the NFL. Give me a GM's job. I'll sign all those players. We'll go like 5 and 12. Fine.
Yeah, it's better than what half these other teams are going to do.
That's what I mean. Like, there's some good players out there, but yeah, like, you don't need to trade for a wide receiver. Should we talk about some of these ambiguous situations? Have you got any that you want to talk about while we?
I suppose the one that's coming up at the moment, and I think you've seen a post from you saying he's not he hasn't got a poker face, but like you've got Dowdle there, and then you've got Hubbard coming back this week as well. So the question is, like, most people would say that Dowdle's going to keep a spot where he is, but it's more around what type of split are you seeing? Do you think?
That's the harder question.
Or if you owned either one of them, can you start either of them comfortably? Knowing the other one's there?
I'll start Dowdle
with
no difficulty at all.
Yeah. Well, would you be starting them as your main running backs though, or would they be a flex? Like,
no. He's a top 24 play for me this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Easily. I'm trying to remember where I put him in my ranks, but
I'll tell you now. I've got them here.
I'll put him out. I put Rico Dowdle. I'm in the wrong category.
You've got him as 11.
Yeah. I'm not scared at all to play.
Yeah.
To play Rico Dowdle at all. Like, I've got him between Kyron Williams and Bill Krosky-Merritt, and I feel pretty good about where I've got him. I just think that Chuba Hubbard is going to get some carries. Of course he is. But I think Rico Dowdle is third in the NFL in rushing.
He's earned the right to stay there for a bit longer anyway.
But it's not even earned the right. You'd have to be thick to take him out. Like, you would. Like, the guy's third in the NFL in rushing. He won you back-to-back games.
Yeah. And I agree. It's just that sometimes they don't always do the logical thing of what you think they're going to do.
No, but, and again, I feel like I give Dave Canellis a hard time. And a lot of it is like, they think I'm bitter. And I'm not. I was really glad Dave Canellis left. Like, I genuinely was very happy that he left. I'll dig up the podcast that I was on with friend of the show, Andy Davis. And I talked about, like, his scheme. And I was like, I'm so glad he's gone. And it's not in a, like, I hate him. I don't hate him. He's just a very vanilla coach. He's a very nice guy. A very nice guy. But his coaching is to be desired. And it's a little samey. It's a little simple. And I just think Dave Canellis is just like, well, this works. I'm just going to go with it. Like, he just is not an upset the apple cart kind of guy.
Yeah.
He just isn't. And so I think he's just going to go with Dowdle, and Dowdle will just run until he doesn't run anymore. And then he'll switch him back when Dowdle has 2 bad games in a row. Yeah. And that can and will likely happen. But there's no chance this week that Chuba Hubbard is going to get 70% of this ball.
Yeah.
He's not even going to get 50. He'll get, at best, 30.
Next question is around Rashee Rice. As in, we know he's back. We know he's going to be playing. Is it wheels up full 100%? or are they going to? Because when was the last time he actually played any type of competitive match? Like, it's a long time, isn't it? Are they just going, right, he's ready, he's going straight in and he's playing everything? Like, is it full wheels up, or is it gradual?
So I think it's full wheels up. And I think there's a big difference to the type of position that you play. If you miss 2 years as a quarterback, that's almost terminal. That is very, very difficult, because that is a rhythm, that's a timing, that's a field position that you have to have a routine and a set of control elements to it. And there's a lot to it. It's a very complicated position to play. I think a lot of people, and I don't want to make the wide receiver position sound simple, because it's not. You have to learn a lot, right? You have to learn a lot. There's a lot of different route concepts. There's a lot of different things you have to learn. But in all actuality, it's actually just about hitting your marks and hitting your routes. And you run your route and you turn and face. And if you beat your man, and a lot of people think like the receiver beats the man, the coach and the scheme beats the man. The only time the receiver is beating the man is when it's a contested catch situation, like in the end zone, near the end zone, down the field, where he's running a post and he's running all the way down, or whatever it might be. That might be the scenarios where you would have to be the man. But more often than not, it's the scheme. You have to run a particular type of route. So it's like a 7-step, then a cut, or 7-step, then a post, or whatever it is. So he will know the playbook. He will know the plays. He will know those drills. He would have been practicing them for many, many weeks. Yes, he's not allowed in the practice facility. Yes, he's not been on a field with the players. None of these players are players he's that unfamiliar with. It's not like he's signed for a new team and has inherited this. I don't think Rashee Rice and Patrick Mahomes are going to have a problem finding each other and doing what they need to do. So I don't really have a big concern. There's some positions that you need to be on the field for every week to get up and running, and then there's some that you don't. And I don't think wide receiver is. If it was a new team, I would, or a new system, new coaching staff, new playbook, all of those things, I would have more concern. The fact it's the same coaches, the same quarterback, the same playbook, relatively, I don't really have a lot of concern that Rashee. And also, the Chiefs are a world-class organization. Like, everyone wants to sit here and bash the Chiefs and the refs and all this malarkey, but that organization is as world-class an organization as there's gonna be. Do you really think that Rashee Rice has been sitting on a couch eating Doritos and watching daytime television? Like, there's absolutely no chance. Like, there has been a coach with him most of the time, practicing
to stop him getting into trouble,
all sorts. But the bottom line is, like, they would have been working.
Yeah,
like they would have been working. The Chiefs would have been working him out somehow, and they would have, he'd have been running routes. He'd have been, doing tests on the playbook. He would have been with strength and conditioning coaches and all of those sorts of things. He would have been doing everything. He's going to come into the building fresh as a daisy, and he's going to be ready. So I'm not. If he was with another organization like the Browns or the Jets, then I'd sit here and say, would they have done their due diligence and competitive edge to win? No, because they don't win. So it's hard to put that on them, and that's a horrible thing to say. But I think Rashee Rice will be fine. I think he's going to be in a good position to go. Could there be some ring rust? Sure, but I think it's all wheels up. I've got him at 9 this week. Listen, he might not hit those heights, but I think he could. All
right. So the next one is around. This is more a hypothetical one because we don't know yet, but we know that Washington. We know McLaurin's out. We don't know about Debo. So the question here for me would be, if Debo is out, what you're thinking, so that you can plan for it in advance in case he is out.
I'm all in on Luke McCaffrey. I think Luke McCaffrey's going to... I think either way, Luke McCaffrey's a good flex bet. So I have Luke McCaffrey at I probably have him overranked at 51. Now, first of all, I love this matchup against Dallas. So they're going to want to get vertical. You can get vertical on Dallas quite easily. And I think Luke McCaffrey's been making plays for a few weeks now. I'm at 51. That was before as well. Terry McLaurin was ruled out. So I'm probably moving him into the 40s tonight because I've taken McLaurin out, but I haven't moved McCaffrey up. So I'd probably have Luke McCaffrey in like wide receiver 4 range now. I think Debo will go. So Debo for me is one of the toughest players in the NFL. Like this guy's tough. I'm a big Debo fan. He's a no-nonsense, just gets on with it kind of guy. Never kicks up a fuss. You never really see negative headlines around Debo as a professional, as a player, as a contract holdout kind of guy. Like, he just gets on with it. He does his job, and all power to him. I think he will just try and go for the sake of the team.
Yeah.
He will put his body on the line.
So in one of my leagues last week, because there was doubts about Debo last week as well, I picked up Luke McCaffrey, put him on my bench, and then when I found out that Debo was playing, I dropped him again. So I could do the same again this week, potentially, because he's still there. But I didn't have many bench spots, so I just have to be careful with it. But like, I just threw him in for that week now, and if he played, I could then put him in if I needed to, but I didn't need to.
I mean, I would feel I'd have him in like that Tez Johnson range now. So I got Tez Johnson at 41.
Who do you prefer?
I mean, I'd have him back to back.
Okay.
So Tez Johnson might go arrow down if Evans and Godwin both clear.
Yeah. Which is looking unlikely, isn't it? I think
it's looking unlikely they'll both be ready to go. So I think for me, like if I look at that wide receiver room, I think Tez did something last week that the team liked. I think it's a good matchup. I think with Detroit, you've kind of got to steal points on them. They're very physically tough. They get at the quarterback. They get to the line. And I think if you're Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, it feels like one of those last possession games that whoever has the ball last probably wins the game. But I think that the Buccaneers and what they've done to stay competitive and to win games is, I talked about this on the Patreon cast, Baker Mayfield's 24th quarterback in the NFL when it comes to fantasy points scored in the red zone. But that's because he doesn't get to the end, the red zone, because they're scoring points, they're scoring 80, 70-yard touchdowns every week. And I just think, like, the Buccaneers have worked out that they need to score cheap drives. They need to steal points. And Tez Johnson gives them the best ability to do that. So I just think that will happen this week. There should be another Tez Johnson touchdown this week.
Okay. What about Zach Ertz? Would that give him an uptick as well if they were both out?
I mean, the weird thing with this is that's a great matchup to target. Zach Ertz is also on the injury report himself. And he's a player who is in the twilight of his career. And so the fact that he's on the injury report now, it could be one of these. He's on the injury report because they're sitting him out because they want him to play, or he's on the injury report because he's actually in worse nick than we think. And with Washington, it's kind of hard to tell. I think he'll go. I don't know if he's got one of these sort of niggling injuries and that is hampering him a little bit, but the usage has ticked downwards a little bit in recent weeks, and I'm a little concerned that he might be playing hurt. And if he does, then I think in this matchup he's a must start, but I think this matchup is going to tell you a lot about where Zach Ertz is going to be over the next few weeks, because I've got him at 12. I feel fine about him at 12 because of the guys underneath him. Maybe like Mason Taylor, Kyle Pitts might have better weeks than him, but I don't feel he's going to drop too far below that. But I think if he does, I think we're talking about Zach Ertz as, man, this guy's hurt, and they don't want to give him the ball because he's hurt. And then we're talking about, we're having a very, very different conversation. So I think we're going to know a lot about what the Commanders are feeling about Zach Ertz for the next few weeks.
That's one of those matches. I think that's predicted to be either the top or the second highest points for the match as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge over under. I'll just put it up here if you give me a second.
Yeah,
So the over under is set at 54.5.
There's one more, I think, isn't it? Is your match expected to be up there?
52.5 is the Bucks and the Lions.
Okay.
By the way, I like the under there. I think that those Bucks Lion games over the last few years, except for the one where they really blew the Bucks out, that was a painful one to watch. A couple of years ago, 2023, I think they were up by like 3 or 4 scores, and Jared Goff just took off, and he was phenomenal. But I think the playoff game and the game that the Bucks won in to avenge the playoff loss, which is like a 2018, 2019 sort of win.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be the shootout that people necessarily are banking it to be at 52.5. But hey, I also hope I'm wrong, because I think if it's high scoring, I back the Bucks to win it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else we've got obviously we've got you've done your end of the rest of the season rankings, and you've got your week 7 rankings. So I don't know if you want to talk through some of the potential ones in there that you've scored up as high, or if there's any other backfields you want to do.
Well, I think some other things I would point out is we know Carson Wentz is going to start for Minnesota, so no JJ McCarthy this week. We're still waiting on the health of Brock Purdy, so that San Francisco is a bit of a wild card this week. So San Francisco, Brock Purdy, we don't know about. I think Kittle will be good to go. We obviously know about McCaffrey's going to be fine.
I've got a lot of
Jennings looks like he's probably going to be a go. What does that mean for Kendrick Bourne? Yeah. And then you've got Ricky Pearsall, doesn't look like he's going to go. So you have a lot of movement in that offense. Now, I think for me, and this is going to be controversial, if I am Kyle Shanahan today, I'm not starting Brock Purdy this week.
No, I wouldn't either. If he's not 100%, there's no point.
Mac Jones has been good.
But also, if you start Purdy, you've got all these other players he's thrown to that he's never thrown to either. So, get Kittle back for a week, and then bring him back maybe, and then you've got.
There you go. Rob has just said. I genuinely didn't know that, Rob, either. I genuinely did not know that that was happening.
Back to the theme of the week, isn't it? It's just things are changing all the time.
That makes sense. I look at the trajectory of this and think, why would you rush back Brock Purdy? Why would you? Mac Jones has been good. Mac Jones has won you a lot of games already. Yes, he didn't win last week. Was the reason they lost because of Mac Jones? I don't think so.
I'm just seeing it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I look at that and just think...
Pearsall's out as well.
Pardon?
Pearsall's out as well.
I think Pearsall would be out. That's not a shock to me. So
there's a few other ones that have just happened as well. So CD Lamb's in full training. Marvin Harrison is in full training.
He's out of the concussion protocol. So
and there was someone else I noticed before as well. I can't remember who it was now.
Josh Downs is out. So that's a big arrow up to Marvin, Michael Pittman Jr.
And Warren probably as well.
Yeah.
And then
I always thought Warren was quite high this week, but I think with Downs out, you might want to give a little nod to Alec Pierce if you're desperate and you need a throw in. Alec Pierce could be a good one, but I think this is a really good week for you.
Calvin Ridley's out as well.
Pardon?
Calvin Ridley.
I mean, that's not a loss.
No, well, what I'm saying, but it might mean that someone else gets more targets, though.
Well, I talked about this on Tuesday with Iomanor, and I seem to talk him every week on the waiver wire, that I think Iomanor is a player who is trending towards that, but I actually don't think he's a 1. I think he's a 2. I think he'll get more work, but the target share is not high enough. The real thing is as well with the Titans now, they've sacked Brian Callahan. And so you've got this sort of interesting scenario where I think it's Michael McCoy who is the head coach or the interim head coach. Now, I don't know tons about Mike McCoy, other than I know that he's fairly new to the Titans organization. And I know that he's been in the NFL like a long time, but I don't recall him calling many plays in the NFL. I know that he did a lot of coaching with Trevor Lawrence the last few years. So he was like his quarterback coach in Jacksonville. But I don't really recall Mike McCoy being an offensive. I could be wrong. And if I am, then like I'll eat it. But I don't seem to recall Mike McCoy being an offensive coordinator anywhere. Or if he was, I don't remember him being an offensive coordinator for long. Maybe with the Broncos. Actually, I think he might have been head coach of the Chargers. Come to think of it. But I don't know. But anyway, he's an experienced coach, but I don't know a lot about his scheme or his style. So, where do you go if you're the Titans, and where do you go with this? I mean, like, the bottom line is there isn't anyone in this offense you should want. And I think that, you could start Iomanor in a push. I think he'll give you 10, 12 points maybe. But I think other than him and Pollard as a low-end RB2, I don't really want parts of this offense. It's a historically bad football team that's going to get worse. And, they got one win. They're the worst team in football. Like, I know they're not statistically because they got the flukiest win ever in NFL history, but I think they're the worst team in football. So I think Iomanor is going to be the guy, but is that really worth? Like, I think if you're in a position where you need to start him, it's just starting him over literally no one. If you're in a position where you're chasing points, he's not your guy. You're better off chasing a Whittington, chasing these
Tez Johnson.
Yeah, like a Tez Johnson. I mean, I'll give you some names. Like, if you're really like, do you know what? I'm just absolutely stuffed. Like, I'll give you 8 names right now that I would start where I think, okay, these are players who I would be looking at that will give you some form of like upside. Parker Washington is one. I'm going from like top to bottom here, by the way. So I'd start with like Parker Washington, Dontarian Wicks,
Keyshawn
Booty, Jalen Coker,
Luke
McCaffrey is one. Even like Travis Hunter, he's going to be owned everywhere. Tez Johnson, I talked about. And I mean, I have Iomanor just above Tez Johnson and Luke McCaffrey, but he's a floor play. Jordan Whittington, we've talked about. Heck, even Trey Tucker, like Trey Tucker's a player who,
is sneakily like quite a lot, don't he?
He's like wide receiver 3 range for me. Like, there's a player there that you could target.
What about
and Luther Burden is the other one.
Trey Franklin?
No, that usage is going down. So I can't with good conscience like get on that train. Like, little Jordan Humphrey is probably someone I would look at like on the outside. His utilization last week was nuts. You could cash that check if you want to go, but these are all chase plays, right? They're not. I'm not telling you to go and pick these guys up and they're going to be like superstars. I'm saying like if you're in a desperation spot, like start someone who's going to do something. Either Iomanor might have like a half decent week. He might even outscore all the other guys I've just talked about.
Yeah.
But there's no ceiling to it. Like, you're not sitting there getting a 20-point week out of Eilik Iomanor. You'll have to score 2 touchdowns to get to 20 points. And I just don't see the Titans doing that.
Well, there could be what's the name, as you say before as well. There could be the odd tight end that you could throw in your flex as well. Who could do something like K. Dalton.
I feel this is a good tight end week. Like, I'm looking at some of the matchups here. I think there's some really good tight end play. Like, I know Waller's now owned significantly more than ever, and Harold Fanning's owned a lot. Mason Taylor, if you hadn't missed the boat on him.
What do you think about Michael Mayer?
I think I've got him at 15, thinking that Brock Bowers wasn't going to play.
Yeah, but if he doesn't play, if he doesn't, though, is he?
Again, yeah, I think it's a decent play. Like, he got in the box last week. I think there's a play there. I think K. Dalton, we talked about, is a play. AJ Barner is lights out in the red zone. I think this is a really difficult matchup against Houston. It's the worst tight end matchup on the board, but AJ Barner's getting the ball and Sam Darnold's playing pretty well. That's not a bad one. Gadsden, we talk about. If there's no Quentin Johnston, then that's another one. Taysom Hill was a chaos play. He's out there as well. So there's a few options out there at tight end that I don't hate this week.
It's funny because I'm looking at it's already been a tight end week already, hasn't it? Like, I'm looking at some of your tight rankings there, and you've got tight ends in the 20s, and half of them scored touchdowns last night. There was loads. There's Washington, Fant, all these players that you wouldn't expect much from, all of a sudden all turned up in the same game.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's mad, but that's the NFL for you right now, and where it's going. It's as we said, it's the most unpredictable week. Is it in fantasy history? I don't know, but it is definitely a difficult week, and I think this is the week. I think you've got to be bold. I think if you're sitting there with 3 wins, I think you've got to be bold this week. I think you're gonna have to make. I would not be playing safe with 3 wins or less this week. I would sit here and really try and nail a win. It feels like this week there's just something psychological about being 4-3 versus being 3-4.
Yeah.
And it's not just because one's a winning, one's a losing record. It just feels like 4-3. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of 8-win teams in the playoffs. And that's the kind of number I think you're going to need this year if you're playing in a good league. I think eight wins is probably going to get you in. And I'd rather be trying to win 4 of the remaining 7 than 5 of the remaining 7.
Yeah.
To get into the playoffs. Like, you just kind of got to break it down and pacing. And, like, if you're at 2 wins, you've got to go for it this week, because if you lose this week, you're 2-5. Like, you're almost having to run the table to get in. You need to win 6 of your final 7 games.
And then your team will be crap for the playoffs then as well.
Well, and that's what. But, like, I think at this point we're at this point of the season now where you've got to take the risks. With 3 wins and below now, if you're sitting there 6 wins, 5 wins, you can play tight, you can play conservative. But if you're at 3 wins, 2 wins, 1 win, you've kind of got to go for it. Even at 0 win, like if you're 0-6, you might as well just throw the kitchen sink at it. You might as well make the trades. You might as well pull it off. Like, you've got to do a lot to make the playoffs, and it's possible. You can make the playoffs with 0 wins right now, 1 win right now. It seems impossible, but I tell you, I've done it more times than I care to remember, and it is possible. And you've just got to be bold. You've got to change your mindset. If your team is in that position, it's either been riddled by injuries or you've played it too safe, or a combination of the two. And if you're playing it too safe, just rip it up. Just rip it up, trade your best players, get a load of point scorers. And I talk about this a lot. Like, you've got one guy who scores 20 points. If you can get, for that one player who scores 20 points, 3 players who get you 12 points.
Yeah.
And they're better than the positions you've got, you might be net positive 9 points a week. And all of a sudden you're away with the races. You get 9 extra points in 100. That's like a 9% uplift. That might be the difference between you winning and you losing games.
Yeah.
Like, you've sometimes got to trade the best player on your team. If you've got Devon Achane and he's the one that's carrying you, you've got to trade him. Jonathan Taylor, you got to trade him. Christian McCaffrey, I doubt it. You're 1 win with Christian McCaffrey, but you've got to trade those players, and you've got to get good, sustainable play. You've got to improve the roster across the board.
Yeah.
Get a good quarterback in. Get a good wide receiver in, and get a good running back in return. Like, if I could sell Jonathan Taylor for Drake May, who's probably everybody's backup on a good team, you get Drake May, you get Brian Thomas Jr., and you get I don't know, a reasonable running back, that feels like a good trade. That feels like a trade that will turn the tide on your team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an easy trade to do, by the way, but I feel like Drake May is not starting in most people's fantasy leagues. Most people would have taken him as a backup. And they might start him now, but they'll have a pretty good backup then if they're starting Drake May. You know, the amount of teams I've seen where they've got like a Jalen Hurts and a Drake May, or they've got they've got a Drake May and they've got a Patrick Mahomes, or they've got a Drake May and a, I don't know, Baker Mayfield or something like that. I feel like there's an opportunity there in most leagues where you can get yourself a really good quarterback with a really good wide receiver and a pretty decent running back for like a Jonathan Taylor, for a high performing running back right now, because those players are gold. If you've got a Justin Jefferson, maybe you flip him for some pieces. And don't take descending assets. We keep seeing it in our Patreon chat, don't we, where people are asking for Justin Jefferson and they're trading like George Pickens, and you're like, don't do that. Just don't do that. Descending assets.
Yeah, big time.
I'm trying to think of other situations. I think that's pretty much it for situations in the NFL. I think it's a weird season. I think it's going to be a weird going forward. Is there anything that you thought in my rest of season ranks that you thought, oh, well, that's weird, that we should cover?
Well, I don't know if I'd say weird. It was just what I'd done is I'd gone through it and I'd highlighted ones that I thought you might be high on and ones that against what other people might be saying, and same with low as well. So like just a few jumping out. Like you mentioned Drake May there. You have him as number 4 for the rest of the season. So if you can get May on the cheap and he is your backup, it's well worth doing. Couple of others that seem to be creeping in to the top 10 as well as Dak at 9 and Caleb at 10. And it's funny because with Caleb, you've got to detach fantasy from real life, because every real life pod I'm listening to is talking about how bad he's playing, but he keeps getting he's still getting decent points when it comes to the fantasy side of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then a couple of ones that you're lower on like your Kyler Murray's that all the way down to 19 for the rest of the season. Jared Goff 17. I know you're not a big Trevor Lawrence fan. He's down at 22. There's nothing major there that jumps out. Like obviously week by week is going to be different. One question I would ask you is, I've seen some people higher for the end of the season on Patrick Mahomes because of the fact he's got Rice back. And he's got Worthy, and he's got. So I've seen some of them having him around, actually in their top 3. I know you've got him at 7, which seems about right to me. But I don't know. Would you consider a change with Mahomes at all, or are you happy where he is?
So I'm glad you brought this up. I talked about Patrick Mahomes in the on the Patreon cast, right? And I think that everything we've seen out of Patrick Mahomes this season, from a quarterback perspective in terms of fantasy football, right? And I really want to be clear that when I talk about Patrick Mahomes in a critical way right now, I'm not talking about Patrick Mahomes, the NFL quarterback. I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes from a fantasy football quarterback.
Yeah.
He is currently the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. And there's no easy way to say this, but it's a false number. So the first thing that stood out to me, I started thinking, well, how is Patrick Mahomes, who's not leading the league in passing, who's not leading the league in passing touchdowns, like how is he number 1 in fantasy? Like, where are these fantasy points coming from?
He's running, isn't he, more than he normally runs?
So he's running more, but more importantly, he's running in touchdowns. Now, he's got the second most rushing touchdowns of an NFL quarterback this year. He's behind Jalen Hurts by 1. Now, the thing you've got to remember is context is a beautiful thing. And we're used to Patrick Mahomes being on a team that is well out in front, winning the division at a canter, on their way to a 1 or a 2 seed, pretty comfortable from a win-loss perspective, and not in these sort of dogfights. The Kansas City Chiefs are 3-3, and they have been in some real sort of dogfights and real sort of street-ish style battles where they've had to really battle and dig deep. And full credit to Mahomes. Like, Mahomes has won games with brilliant quarterback play. And again, this isn't a negative on Patrick Mahomes at all. But the Chiefs are going to win the division. The Chiefs are going to win 12, 13 games this season, maybe 11, but they're going to be pretty comfortable. And what's going to happen is this risk-reward football that they're playing right now is very different to the standard of football that we normally see. And so when that happens, and they're going to be more into this control motion that we're used to seeing from the Chiefs, the production's going to drop. And it's going to start with the quarterback. He's not going to run as much. He's not going to scramble as much. The offensive line's going to get better. He's not going to run in touchdowns in the red zone. Like, all of these numbers are going to shrink back to the mean when they start controlling games of football. And so I'm not projecting that Patrick Mahomes is going to get worse. I'm saying that Patrick Mahomes' stats are going to drop because he's not going to need to do as much because the team is going to win more convincingly moving forward.
And then once they're already in the playoffs, they might ease off a little bit as well. Yeah.
That's a real concern for me, is Patrick Mahomes' fantasy playoffs could be a real stinker for owners. So he's number one in the NFL right now. I've got him at 7 for the rest of the season, as if it started again today. Because
would you trade him if you owned him?
I'd sell him.
Yeah, I thought you would.
I'd sell him. He's
worth more than what you think he's going to produce.
Oh, absolutely. I'd sell him for the farm. Like, if someone's going to come in and make a big play. I think it's very difficult to do in a 1 QB league, but if you can do it, I would do it. If you want to hold a couple of weeks and generate some wins, then do it. Then that's also fine. I don't think his value is going to drop tons.
Yeah.
But he's the best quarterback in fantasy football right now, and I don't think that will stay true for very long.
So the next question ties into the rankings a little bit. How do you see, once the Ravens come out of their bye week and Lamar's back, is this wheels up again? Everything's, or is it, I think you've got too many players missing in other positions? How do you see that playing out?
Well, I still think they're favourites to win the AFC North.
Well, I think they were only 7-4 to win, to still win the division, which is not very low for someone who's only won one team, one match so far.
Steelers have dropped the ball.
Yeah,
Steelers dropped the ball coming out the bye. Should be taking care of Cincinnati. Didn't.
Because Lamar's like, going off track a little bit, but he's my most owned player when it comes to Dynasty. I've got him in so many teams, and then I've also got a lot of Henry as well. So that's where my concern is, especially in the key leagues. I've got quite a bit of Henry, so I need them to be going when they come out the bye week. I need them to be all at it then.
Yeah, but let's look at the schedules coming out of the bye week. They've got the Bears. It's not a terrible matchup. You've got the Dolphins. You'd expect them to take care of business there. You've got the Vikings. That's their toughest matchup. Then you got the Browns. You'd expect them to take care of business there. You got the Jets. You'd expect them to take care of business there. You got the Bengals. You'd expect them to take care of business there. All of a sudden, there you've got 5 teams in the next 6 that are in the bottom 10 of the NFL. They win those games. All of a sudden, they're 6-6 if they lose to the Vikings.
Yeah,
they're probably sitting around about first place, winning 5 in a row. And confidence, they're a team that avoided confidence right now. They bring Lamar back. He'll bring that swagger.
They'll hopefully get some other players back then as well to help.
We saw with Derrick Henry last year that Derrick Henry didn't really produce in the first half of the season. He did in the second half of the season. I'd expect that to happen again. I think they'll wheel out plenty of Patrick Ricard. I think you're going to see one of Andrews or likely to play significantly less in the second half of the season. They'll put an extra blocker in to compensate for the offensive line. I think you're going to see Patrick Ricard a lot more to create those lanes and to make it work for Henry, to give him some extra space. I think Zay Flowers is going to hit top form pretty quickly. I think you might even see some sprinklings of some Bateman or whoever else in the supporting cast. I don't think a lot's going to come from the tight end position. If we see less likely, then that could be the spearhead for Mark Andrews. So I think there's a lot of interesting perspectives with the Ravens, I wouldn't be panicked and I wouldn't be worried just yet holding those assets, and I think it will turn right pretty quickly. The problem you have probably as a fantasy owner is owning all of those assets is you probably, if you've got a lot of Henry and Lamar Jackson and co, probably aren't in a great record spot. So you kind of need to find a way to win this week, gamble a lot, and then hope that they come firing out of the bye. They should do, and if they do, should be in a good spot going forward. But yeah, it'd be a I'm not worried. The biggest worry is waiting for that production, but I would expect it to come.
At least with most of those players, it's not injured. They're not injured. It's just they've been going through bad form. So hopefully now all of a sudden, it's not like they're going to take 2 or 3 games to get fit again. Like, well, Lamar is obviously, I don't think he's as bad as what they thought injury-wise, so he should be fine. Henry's not injured. It's just they haven't been performing, so hopefully he's ready to just go when they come out the bye week.
A lot of this is they haven't been performing. They have played the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, true. Obviously, yeah.
They lost to the Bills on Monday Night Football. They destroyed the Browns. They lost to the Lions in a close one. The D's been bad. They lose to the Chiefs, then they lose Lamar in that game. Then you got Cooper Rush, who was dreadful. The Texans blew the doors off them, and then the Rams beat him in a really close one where actually the D played pretty well against the Rams, but Cooper Rush was terrible. Like it was as bad a quarterback performance as you're ever going to see. And then Tyler Huntley, I think, came in and did some bits, but it's a different animal. The D has to be better. They have to win some turnovers, but they're playing some pretty bad teams and get right, and you win a couple of those, and that Ravens carriage will get moving pretty quickly.
So most of your top 10 for running backs are pretty much what you'd expect. They would also have been the top. Most of them would be the top 10 weeks ago as well. The only ones that seem to getting close to joining that group would be the likes of, which would have been different than the start of the season, would have been Judkins and Scatterbo, those type of guys that all of a sudden have done really, really well, and it looks like that's hopefully going to continue for both of them. And Javonte Williams is 17, so I guess like start of the season, I'm guessing you'd have had him 30-something maybe or 20-ish, but you wouldn't have had him in your top 20. But now he's obviously getting a lot of work, and he's working his way up those rankings. And
I think that I was expecting Javonte Williams to be overtaken,
or injured,
and that hasn't happened as well. So, I think that the Cowboys' offense will be less efficient. I think that there'll be some drop off in the Cowboys' offense, and when that happens, then I think when that happens, then we'll start to see the run game drop off a little bit. And I think at some point, if it gets to a lost season, they kind of need to see what they've got in Jaden Blue. So kind of why I think Javonte Williams will finish fine. I think most of the games will be okay, but I do think there'll be a tail off.
Then the ones that you're low on, all of a sudden, obviously Kamara is 23, Pollard 28. Chase Brown was 29. I don't know if that'll change now with Flacco a little bit, might help him a little bit. Hampton 31, and then Chuba 37. So a lot of those ones would have been going much higher at the start of the season, who were all well outside the top 20, some of them even outside the top 30. Some for injuries, like Hampton's 31, because we don't know when he's coming back.
Correct.
Obviously, Pollard has got Spears coming back as well. Brown, I don't know if you put it, would you, based off, if you were looking after last night, would you change that at all, or would you keep him where you've got him?
It's just really hard to look. I could.
You'd want a bigger sample size maybe before
not even that. It's just I'm looking at the names above him.
Yeah.
I could move him above Pollard. That'd be pretty easy to do. I could probably get him above Henderson.
But then
I'm not sure I could get him maybe Dowdle in the split backfield. When I get like Bill Krosky-Merritt at 25, the only player in that top 25 that I think there's a pathway to them dropping out of there would be J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, with Harvey.
That's the only one. I think the rest of them, it will take injuries for me to move Brown up much. I could make a case to move Brown from 29 to 26.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can get him any higher than that. And I think it will take injuries to, like, if someone said to me, Chase Brown's going to finish 18th between now and the end of the season, I'd buy it, and then I'd say who got injured.
Yeah.
Because there will be injuries, right? There's going to be injuries.
Yeah.
And it's not a slight on him. I don't think he is, and I talked about this on the Patreon card, I don't think he is to blame for a lot of what's happened. I think he's played some really good teams who were really good at defending the run, and they stacked the box and said, we're going to let the quarterback beat us. And that's what happened. And they didn't, obviously. So it's not a slight on Chase Brown. It's not a lack, not a ding on his ability. It's just, I don't think he's helped in the current situation.
All right, we better move on to the next one. Looking at that, we've got an hour and 45 minutes already.
Okay.
Wide receivers, again, like there's no huge shocks in the first 5 or 6, except for the fact that obviously come the start of the season, you'd have had JSN probably, I don't know, maybe 10, something like that, maybe. You've got him as 2 for the rest of the season. Yeah. And then you've got the likes of Roma Odunze, who was probably, I'm guessing, would be about 35 or something like that, maybe 40 at the start.
I think I had him in the low 20s.
But you've got him as 8 now. And you've got, we don't know when Abuka's coming back, but we've got him in 10. And then Sutton's you always rank Sutton higher than what others do, but he always seems to do better than what others predict him to do as well. Sutton's one of those ones that seems to go under the radar. Like he gets consistent points, but people always don't seem to think he's as good as the others, but he always performs. So he's a good one to get cheap potentially. Yeah. Rashi Rice 13. Jalen Waddle's back in the top 20, obviously with Hill gone as well. Stefan Diggs has worked his way up to 22. Ones that you're low on. Drake London's 18. He had a good week last week, didn't he? AJ Brown 25. DK Metcalf 27. Pickens will be interesting to people because he's number 1, isn't he, at the moment? He's 29 for the rest of the season in your rankings. Obviously, a lot of that's with CD Lamb coming back.
And the inefficiency of the Cowboys, I think, will happen a little bit.
And he likes to throw to Ferguson as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You've got Worthy 31, Godwin 32, Harrison 33, Terry McLaurin's 36, and DJ Moore's 37. And then Devontae Smith's all the way down as 46.
So
most of them are straightforward enough reasons, I'd say, bar 1 or 2.
But what I'd also say, and this is the part that I really hate about wide receiver rankings, the gap between like 25 and 40
there's not much.
Is a handful of points.
Yeah.
It's a handful of points. Like,
doesn't take
I
much
could throw them all in a bucket. Yeah. There's about 15 players that I could literally throw them up in the air and they could land in a different order, and I probably wouldn't hate it at random. Like, it's just...
Yeah. One injury could put one of them up like 20 ranking places. If the key injury happens to someone else, like there's not much between a lot of them.
It's not even that, right? So let me give you... Let me just pull this up from last year. I'm going to play you the points totals. Oh, it's just crashed on me. The fantasy points totals at the wide receiver position in 2024. If the website's going to play nicely. Please. Try on a different browser.
I think I might have been using your account, so I've just come out of it. That might help.
I know I'm on Fantasy Pros.
Oh, Fancy Bros.
But it's fine. I'll look it up on web browser. In case on my mobile browser. Because it's not pulling up the 2024 data. So let me just pull this up quickly. Yeah, it's much better on my phone. So wide receiver 25 last year was surprisingly Jaron Jennings, who finished with 172 points. Wide receiver 40 was Cooper Kupp, who finished with 141 points. And Cooper Kupp missed 6 weeks, and he also scored a 0 in another week. So basically 7 blank weeks. And he finished 31 points behind. So that's at 40, 25 to 40. is split by 30 points, which is more than I initially thought. But then I look at so if I look at Jawan Jennings at 25 and I look at Keenan Allen at 35, they're split by 22 points, which isn't a lot. And the difference between Jawan Jennings is 72, 160, 172, 169.5, 167.2, 167.1, 165.5, 165.4, 161, 168, 167 to Xavier Worthy. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players split by 14.3 points.
Yeah, 1 point a week.
Yeah, and not even. So it's like it can be split relatively easily and short that quickly. And I think that's kind of the thinking of people get hung up on, oh, you've got him ranked there. And I'm like, yeah, but if he banks one more touchdown, he'll jump 2 places. Like it's that.
But it also means when you draft, and if you know that that's the case in theory, you can draft other positions and then come back to them if there's not much of a difference between them.
Yeah.
And then your tight ends. So different from where the season started. There's 3 in the top 7 that definitely wouldn't have been in. Well, one of them would have been, but not as high. You got Jake Ferguson at 2, which I'm guessing would have been about 10 come the start of the season.
Yeah. And I was high on him.
Yeah.
I was higher on him than others.
Yeah. Warren at 3. So I'm guessing you'd have had Warren maybe 7 or 8, would you, at the start of the season, maybe? And then Hunter Henry at 7. So they're 3 that have definitely gone up a lot compared to the start of the season for different reasons. Brock Bowers is obviously, he's down to 8, which he probably would have been number 1 at the start. We don't know when he's back. That could change quite quickly because he has been in training today. So if he is back, he might move up in those rankings potentially from 8. And then I don't even think you had Darren Waller in your rankings at the start of the season, but he's a 10 for the rest of the season. Mason Taylor's 11. So they're 2 that are a lot higher than what they were. And then a couple of ones that have dropped quite heavily is TJ Hawkinson at 17, Mark Andrews at 20. I know we talked about Andrews before. He's in the last year as well, isn't he? So if they come out of the bye and all of a sudden Likely's getting more of the ball, would he drop even more then as well?
Who, Andrews?
Yeah, or is that?
I think there's a chance that he will outperform that.
Yeah, okay. Because he was one that there was talking around that. Again, not to poke the bear, but that's one where they were talking about he's a potential trade candidate because he's nearly out of contract as well. But I know you'll be like, oh, there's no way they're doing those trades this late in the window.
No, I think
yeah.
I don't think he's going to get traded. I think it's just one of those really interesting situations where I think there's a chance that he'll go up, but I'm just I'm just fearing the worst, I suppose.
And then if these aren't ones that are higher or lower, it's just for anyone who's listening, who's interested, is from a DST point of view, your top 5 for the rest of the seasons: the Broncos, the Steelers, the Vikings, the Ravens, and the Bills. And from a kicker point of view, top 5, Aubrey, Dicker, Lutz, Fairbairn and Bates would be the top ones there as well. So if any of them on your waivers, maybe pick them up now as well.
Yeah, I don't think they will be, but yeah.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty easy to go for right now.
Yeah. And then I don't know if there's anyone we want to call. I haven't really gone through a highlighting them, but one thing that definitely jumped out to anybody looking at week 7 rankings was who you've got a QB1 this week. People nearly spat the coffee out, I think, when they were drinking when looking at that.
I don't know why, because he's leading the NFL in passing yards. Like, it's not that big a leap, is it?
No, it's not. And it's also the matchup. It's just people are not used to seeing him that high recently. Like, he's one of those players that does better than what people actually make out. I think when he's for the last few years, you've been able to get him cheaper than what he probably should be, because he's not like I don't know. He's not like this. He doesn't come out, even though he's probably the most paid quarterback, isn't he? Actually, thinking about it.
I mean, that changes so much.
Yeah. But yeah. Do you want to tell them who you've got as QB1?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Dak Prescott. He's leading the NFL in passing yards. It's the highest pointed matchup. And I think they're going to be behind. They're going to need to chase the game.
Yeah. That was the one that caught a few people off guard when they were looking at them in the Discord. Devontae Adams, wide receiver 4, would be another one that jumps out at me as well. For obvious reasons, with Puka being out. Don't know if you want to. I don't even know if you even need to say any more than that. I don't know if there's any you want to elaborate on that at all, or is that just
his usage last week was absolutely ridiculous, and I already called him out on a previous show that I think he'd be. I think when we had BJ on, and I said that I think he'd finish top 7 for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Another one that jumped out at me a little bit was. I've missed them now. I had it a second ago. Where were we? There was... God, who was that? I had someone in there. I've lost my train of thought. It's what happens when we've been talking for 2 hours. Rashid White. White is 6. You've got him as running back 16 this week, which for someone who was way off the pace all of a sudden is working his way back up there, isn't he, to 16?
I think he's been really, really good. Like I think he's been better than I thought he would be, for sure. And I think on top of that, like I look at him and think he's getting the important work in the red zone. He's running in touchdowns. He's looking a little bit more juicy than he has done in the past. And I just think, like, for me, the Buccaneers are running the football pretty well, which I don't think I also expected without Bucky Irving. So I look at those situations and think, okay, he's running the ball well. I do think that there's a pathway to Sean Tucker this week. I think it's a difficult matchup, and I think if they struggle to run the football well, I can see them tossing it to Sean Tucker this week. But also, I just think I think the White's he has been pretty good, and I think he'll continue to do well. I don't think we're going to see a top 12 week because it's respect to the matchup that they're going to be in. And, you know, the game script could get away from them at times.
Yeah.
And I think that could be something that holds them back a little bit.
And then Krosky Merritt's at 12. So that's one that I know you've mentioned on the Patreon as well, is that he's one that you're expecting to have a good week with the matchup as well.
Yeah, if anything, in my rankings, my rest of the season rankings, I'm probably a little low on. He's the one I'm probably like losing the most sleep over where I've got him.
And then from a tight end point of view, you've got Dallas Goedert at 6 this week, which is quite high, especially when you're a bit lower on the wide receivers that go with him.
Yeah, I just think that there's not a lot of passing volume, and he's the guy right now who is producing in the red zone. His red zone efficiency numbers are off the charts for a tight end. And
then you had what's the name? Oh no, you've already updated based off that. I think I was looking at Farron at 10, and I was wondering about Njoku, but that's done based off the fact that he's not there. Then from a QB point of view, there's a couple of Caleb Williams is 7, which is obviously that matchup seems to be one that's expected to go high as well against the Saints. And then you've got most of them. There wasn't many where you were like, oh my god, I can't believe you've gone that high on that player. There's a few low ones probably, but the high ones are pretty what you'd expect at this point. You know, you've got Judkins 9th as well. Because I'm just trying to think if I was playing DFS, some of the ones I'd be targeting, because some of them would be cheaper players categorized, but have actually got quite high rankings. So like the likes of, I don't know how much Judkins would be, but he's you've got Dardle up there still at 11 as well. So some of those might, in season longs especially, they'd have been priced very low in, say, fan team season long. Dardle's probably really cheaper than that. Krosky Merritt would have been as well, but I'm guessing their ownership must be very fucking high in that at the moment, because most people will be going for them. That's been it. You've got Kittle at 8. And obviously, that's probably just he's getting back to fitness as well. Like he could go higher than that probably in the next few weeks once he's up and running.
Yeah, I think. I think that's definitely more than possible, and I think they'll ease him in slowly. And again, also we're kind of looking at. We're also looking at the fact that it could be Mac Jones, and it will be Mac Jones throwing him the football. So I think the volume will go down a little bit, and I think overall, I think it will be fine. Like I just think that he'll be fine. You're starting him. If I'm putting him at 8, it's not because I think he's bad. The room is to go up. I wouldn't expect him to be too low. I guess we're just waiting to see what the ring rust is like and the injury and how much it will impact him. Yeah,
that's pretty much it, really. Like they're all. If anyone wants to see them, the rankings, they're all for free in the Discord as well. And they'll probably get updated at least another one before Sunday, maybe even twice. I know you keep updating them all the time. So they're all in there for anyone to look at. And what we try to do as well is try to keep them updated as much as we can through the weekend. So yeah, go and have a look in there. And if you've got any questions on them, post them in the Discord.
Yeah, and definitely. I'll try and pick them up as I can over the weekend. I think it's an interesting weekend. My advice to anybody watching this is be bold, make some bold lineup decisions. Don't play it safe. Don't leave anything out there. It's a pivotal week in the NFL season, in the fantasy season. You're going to have to make some really bold calls. And if you join our Patreon before Sunday, I'll try and help you out as much as I can in the Patreon chat. As per always, but I think all in all, we've been going for 2 hours. I've been keeping Danny up long enough. I think it's bedtime. So, any final thoughts, Danny?
Just embrace the chaos this week.
Embrace the chaos. That's the tagline. Embrace the chaos. It's going to be great fun. Enjoy it. Stack some W's. Our Patrons, by the way, are absolutely killing it in fantasy tournaments all over. We've got
one of them's in the top 10, isn't he, of Scottish Bowl at the moment?
Yeah, one's I think not overall, but I think he's touching that range. But he finished top 10 in scoring in 1 week, and he's touching that close. And then you've got yourself in the Warrior Bowl. I'm in the top 3 of a few tournaments, and we've got a few of our Patreons are kind of sniffing out in the JTT and the Orkney Charity Bowl and the THFFBB and the Women's of Fantasy Football Gods and Goddesses Tournament. We're stacking deep in terms of in these tournaments. I don't know if we're going to pull off any wins, but we're there or thereabouts in the hunt. And these are large tournaments, and people will win money. And in DFS tournaments is following the work that we do. So you should get your value. Join the Patreon, join the conversation. We're here to help. We're here to drive victories. So hope to see you in the Patreon. You can try it out for a week, join the chat, see what you think, and see how you get on. But thank you so much for tuning in, enjoying the show, and looking forward to picking up the conversation over the weekend. Looking forward to talking to you all in week 8 as we hit the back 9 of the NFL season. But as always, from Danny and I, have a wonderful weekend. Get some ships in the harbor. But until then, don't forget, as always, keep rushing.